Hello, boys and girls. Have you ever wanted to do something but could not because it was against the rules? Well, when I was in third grade, I had to ride the bus to school. I always wanted to sit by the window, but our bus driver gave us assigned seats. The bus driver always had me sitting in a seat that wasn't by a window. I tried to sit by the window one day, but the bus driver told me I couldn't. What could I have done? Does anyone know what it means to live in a democracy? When everyone is treated the same, the government is called a democracy. For example, if I thought we should have a new playground, I would ask all the students to vote whether or not they wanted a new playground. The most votes would win. Today, we are going to learn about new words like segregation and equality and how they played a part in the United States history.
One major movement in the United States history that will help us define these terms is the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement was a mass popular movement to secure for African Americans equal access to and opportunities for the basic privileges and rights of U.S. citizenship. Although the roots of the movement go back to the 19th century, it peaked in the 1950s and 1960s. African American men and women, along with whites, organized and led the movement at national and local levels. They pursued and achieved their goals through legal means, negotiations, petitions, and nonviolent protest demonstrations. The Civil Rights Movement was a unified movement that provoked individuals to reevaluate the concept of equality and what it really meant to have equal rights. Such as stated in the United States Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life,
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Therefore, in order for the children to understand and grasp the basic principles that form the foundation of a Republican form of government, the students will have an authentic experience simulating the Civil Rights Movement. And of course, in 2015, the reality of racial equality to a third grader is not as prevalent as it was in the 1960s. However, playground equality is something that most of the students hold valuable. Therefore, when it comes time to play on the playground, the students will be separated into two groups. A group of students with red shirts and a group of students without red shirts. The students who have the red shirts will have restrictions to where they can play and what they can play with. In contrary, the students without the red shirts will have access to majority of the playground and luxurious playground equipment. The only constraint that these students face is they will not be able to cross the line to play with anyone in the red shirt. If so, the person in the red shirt will be penalized. After the first day, I will communicate with my children that I made a mistake, and the red shirt students are actually the students who did not wear the red shirts yesterday. Therefore, at playground time, the students who did not wear the red shirts will wear the red shirts, and the students who wore the red shirts yesterday will be red shirt free. The same rules and policies apply as the day before.
The next thing we will do as a class is have a Socratic seminar. Everyone will sit in a giant circle around the room. Before we do this, I need all eyes on the screen. Let's first discuss the rules of the Socratic seminar and then the questions you should answer and discuss as a class during it. Try to keep the following rules in mind. Be respectful, listen to one another, share your ideas, be willing to disagree or agree with another, be kind, and have fun. Now, listen to the following questions you should try to answer and discuss together. Number 1. How did it make you feel when you were separated into different groups on the playground? Number 2. What actions do you think should be done about the separation? And number 3. What would you say to the leader who is in charge of the new playground rule? I have printed off these guidelines that you see on the screen so that everyone can have a copy to refer to in their hands. I will also be a part of the group and will help you guys when you get stuck. Let's have a great discussion together.
Now that we have completed our Socratic seminars and discussed how we felt about being segregated, we will look at some videos that will provide you with more information that you will use in our next activity.
Please look up at the screen for your next activity and follow along as I read the instructions aloud for your playground poster project. As part of your protest, you will be creating a poster that protests the new segregation rules on the playground. Make sure to have the following included on your poster. Number 1, create a catchy slogan that protests your beliefs. Number 2, give at least 2 reasons why you disagree with the new rules. Number 3, include at least 4 pictures on your poster. You can either find pictures on the internet or draw them yourself. And finally, make it colorful and interesting.
After the students watched and learned how change came about through nonviolent protest and civil disobedience during the civil rights movement, the students were asked, is there anything they can do to bring forth change for their playground situation? After their response, I asked the students, how can we bring about change for our playground rules? What can we do? I would also communicate with the children that the reason why I was enforcing the segregated playground rules was because my superior, the administration office, demanded that I conduct playground time as a segregated environment for the 3rd graders. So if they wanted change, it should be addressed to those who can make change happen, the principal. Therefore, the students would use their protest posters to conduct a march and a sit-in in front of the administration's office during recess time. Moreover, to make this experiment a little more authentic, there would be a staff member against integration, patronizing the children as they sit in front of the administration's office.
Okay, now that we have finished the sit-in and the protest, we're going to break into 4 groups and do a web quest. The first thing you'll see is going to be the table of contents that you can refer back to if you have any questions. Today you experienced how it felt to be discriminated against. Now you are journalists, investigating important people who worked hard for equal rights. Your task is to use the website provided to research your given famous person. You will create a presentation for your peers on that person. Who they are, what they did, when they did this, why they did this, and where did this take place. So we have Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Abraham Lincoln, and Thurgood Marshall. By the end of this web quest, your group will have learned about someone who made a lasting impression on history. So have fun in your investigation.
Today, we learned about what a democracy is, how to protest nonviolently, new vocabulary words like segregation and equality, and famous people that stood up for what they thought was right. Does anyone remember what democracy means? Great. Does anyone remember what segregation means? What about equality? What does that mean? Remember when we participated in the sit-in and petition activity? How did you feel? Do you think that you and the famous people we learned about today had similar feelings? Remember, here in the United States of America, we live in a democracy, so equality is very important. If you ever feel that something isn't fair, stand up for it with the activities that we learned today.